There's something that happens almost every time before I go on a trip that involves a long flight, which is I go on Board Game Geek, I look for lists of solo print and play games that are very small, and I start printing and making like crazy. My idea is that I'll go and look for one or two of games that I can play on an airplane, so I'm looking for very small ones, and usually it's easier to find those in the print and play area because games that are so small don't always get published. It's just not economically savvy to do so. But you find games that are 1 page, 2 pages, you print, you build your own components, and you have a small compact game that you can play on an airplane table. The problem is that rarely do I manage to just print one. I'm like, well, I'll print two, and then I see some other interesting ones because I'm using Geek Lists to find the suggestions, and the Geek Lists have so many good suggestions. Oh man, it's hard to resist. So I usually print a bunch, and the other thing that usually happens is that I play a good amount of those before I even go on the trip. That just always happens. In a week or so, I'm going to Italy. There will be a video in which I'll give you more detailed updates about that. But suffice to say that the last week I've been printing, making, and playing print and play games that I was hoping to use on the flight. Actually, I have to start making more because I've already played almost everything that I made. One of these games is the one that I'm going to talk about in this review, which is A Night at Deepwail Manor. And this is the first of a series of several videos about solitaire print and play games that are easy to make and do not take too much ink. Some of these games are massive. I just don't have the patience of building massive games, so you're going to see some videos starting from this one about light to print and easy to transport games. A Night at Deepwail Manor. This is a solitaire game, a push your luck type of game in which you take on the role of two young explorers, like Dora the Explorer types in a dark horror world. Because these young kids are not just doing the kid stuff that Dora does, they are going and visit a ghost manor, a haunted manor with a lot of bad stuff in it. In a sense, I know the theme is reminiscent of some horror movies from the 80s. There was this idea of young teenagers, slightly older kids, not just children, but slightly older kids facing horrible monsters. It's a cute thing. In the 80s, we really liked that kind of stuff. Let me show how the game works. The game comes with 4 characters: Lucien, Renee, Serena, and Adrian. Each character can be in 2 states. The character can be calm or terrified. You can print the 2 cards representing the 2 states back to back like this, or like I do, which was because it was simpler. I simply printed 2 cards, and at the beginning of the game, when the characters are calm, that's the state in which they start, I simply place the calm state on top. And then I do like this when the character becomes terrified. Each character has a special ability that is used when the character is exhausted. To record the fact that you exhausted the character, to use the ability, you simply turn the card by 90 degrees like this, and the arrow there indicates that. At the beginning of the game, you select 2 of the 4 characters, and these will be the characters that will enter the haunted house and that you will lead down this scary exploration. So you can explore and you can experiment from game to game with different combinations of characters, different combinations of powers and abilities. You have a card that represents the entrance, and you simply place it on the table at the beginning of the game, and then you have a deck of cards that you shuffle together, and you're ready to start the game. The cards come with backs that, if you want, you can also print and attach to the back of the cards. When I make cards for print and play games, usually do not make the backs because it's just less work that way. Now, during your turn, you will flip a card and you resolve it. This is the main action of a turn. There are 2 types of cards in this deck, locations and encounters. If the card is a location, such as this one, the bedroom, then you simply place it in the location discard pile, which is a line of cards that you will form starting from the entrance, and you may want to place them in such a way that you see the title of the cards that were already played. locations have effects printed at the bottom, but you do not have to worry about these effects the first time that a card of a certain type enters the game. So this is the first bedroom to enter the game. I simply place it there and nothing happens. Then I will keep drawing cards. When another bedroom is played, comes out of the deck, and I place it here, and there are two of them here, that is when the effect at the bottom is triggered. So it takes two cards of a certain kind to be in the discard pile for the effect of that kind of card to become active. As I said, there are location cards that will go there, and then there are encounter cards. Encounter cards are self-explanatory. You simply resolve the effect. Here the bats scare my protagonist and they start running away, and they run fast through the mansion, so a lot of stuff happens at once, and as an effect I need to play two cards immediately. I can't take any actions or leave the mansion between them, so I simply have to resolve two cards. My first one is a hedge maze. I simply place it there for now. Nothing is happening still because no two cards are alike. And the other card is an encounter, Spectre. The effect is panic. When you have a panic effect, you choose one of your characters that isn't terrified yet, and the character becomes terrified. Just like that. This is the basic idea. You resolve effects. So when encounter cards tell you to, when two cards of the same two location cards of the same type come up, and when you decide to use an effect. For example, suppose I decide to use this effect here. I want to look at the three cards on top of the deck, and then I'll place one on top and two at the bottom. I do like this to indicate that. I look on my cards, I look on my options, and I decide that I want to keep the crypt, and I put it there. Again, for now, no problem. This is the basic idea. What's happening here? What am I trying to do? I'm trying to go to stay in the house for as long as possible, to explore as much of the house as possible, which means I keep going until I start feeling a little worried, because when I am in a condition in which both of my characters are terrified and another panic effect happens, so if a panic effect happens when my characters are not able to absorb it, then I lost that round. The round simply ends and I don't score anything. But if I leave the house before that happens, before it's too late, then I get to score. And you get to score the number of experience points or exploration points on the location cards that you explored, with the exception of the last one. The last one doesn't score. So if I were to leave the house at this point, the entrance is worth 0. I would gain 5 points, and then I will simply shuffle together all of the cards that I've used. I'll shuffle them together with the deck of cards. I will unexhaust and count down my characters, and I'd be ready to go. Starting again to explore, flipping cards, resolving effects. Here I need to exhaust all terrified characters, doesn't apply, underground passage, and so on and so forth. You repeat this procedure for 3 times, for 3 rounds, in which you will score 0 points or some points possibly. And at the end of the 3rd round, you total all of the points that you scored during your 3 rounds, and then you look at the instructions where you compare your scoring with the ranks, and you see your level of success and glory, or failure and shame. So the game is super simple, it's super basic. It reminds me mechanically of Ink and Gold, which also is a push or luck game in which cards will affect you only if 2 of them show up. So the more cards are there, the more it's likely that then you will draw a repeat. Here, I'd say I probably like this one even a little bit better than Ink and Gold. Ink and Gold is a great push your luck and bluffing game for a group of people. It's a great warm-up game before a game night. But this one thematically is more interesting, and I would say atmospherically. Of course, it's a very small and short game, but it does tell your story, and it does have a little bit of the theme there. It's not that this horror theme scares me, but it does create some atmosphere there. The art on the cards, as simple as that art is, really works in creating, I believe, the right mood. The fact that the cards look like they're old and semi-burnt, that's for the background. The art itself is super simple, is evocative, and I really find it pleasant. As for the game itself, it plays in 5 to 10 minutes, so you can play it during a lunch break. It would fit on an airplane table. You can play it during short breaks. You go to a game night, other people are playing something else. That is the game that you play while you're waiting for them to be done with whatever large game they're playing before you join a larger game. There are a lot of uses for the small game. You're late at night and you have 10 minutes and you want to have that adventure. Then this is a perfect game, because ultimately, bottom line, this is a fun game for what it is. So simple, so easy to pick up. Oh, also, I neglected to say this, so inexpensive. It's completely for free. You spend the money for the ink and the glue, but that's clearly not that much. So it's a very inexpensive game, very simple, very light, but it does deliver. It delivers more than you would expect from the sum of the parts. Definitely a game that is more than the sum of its parts. A game that I would call disproportionately entertaining. It's so simple, you draw cards, you decide whether you're saying or not. And you are fighting against yourself in a sense, simply because you're trying to score increasingly higher amounts of points. It's not too easy, it's not too easy, it's not too hard, it's not the hardest solitaire game that I've seen. It won't take you too many games before you start doing at least okay, at least decently. But it's challenging, it's exciting. There is a large luck factor involved, of course, but it is a push your luck game, so by definition you need that. And if a game is completely messed up because of some really strange shuffling that you did, and you play again, you only wasted like 5 minutes. It's not that ruined your game night. A night at Deepwail Manor. Simple, light, fun, definitely worth printing, making, and playing.